Is Shohei Ohtani a buy or a sell right now? Hey, it's Mike. Thanks for tuning back in. So, as you know, if you follow me, I am a Shohei Ohtani rookie collector. I don't have a lot, but with most guys, I wouldn't collect any modern cards at all. But I have a handful of his rookies that I've picked up or graded myself. Actually, many of these I graded myself. This one was sent to me, it's my only Beckett slab, sent to me by a subscriber as a gift, which is awesome. And now Shohei is in a bit of trouble. And I'm sure you've heard, I'm actually far from the only one to put out a video about this today, even in the sports card world. And normally I avoid topics that all the other sports card YouTubers are talking about, but this one struck close to home to me because I am a Shohei collector. I love Shohei. Just an awesome, awesome player. The most interesting of my lifetime, for sure. And you know most of the details that are out right now, which is really very little and all conflicting. And I'm actually seeing a lot out there that's wrong. And I've watched a few videos about this today, and they get key details very, very wrong. People are saying that the big concern is that Shohei or his interpreter were betting on baseball, and that is not the big concern. They probably weren't. Maybe they were, but nobody has even mentioned that, really. The big concern is that gambling is illegal in California, and wiring money to an illegally gambling organization is very illegal. And so even if Shohei had nothing to do with this gambling controversy with his interpreter, by wiring money to this operation, he has put himself in serious legal jeopardy. And it's a shame because he's probably going to get in pretty big trouble here unless they can prove that his interpreter had access to his money, which is what they're claiming now, and was able to wire funds without Shohei's permission, which seems highly unlikely to me. And when I first started hearing about this, I was like, there's no way Shohei did anything wrong, because I'm a little naive like that. Or, you know, it's, I don't know, confirmation bias maybe. I feel like there's nothing that Shohei could do to make me not want to keep his cards. And of course, I'm not going to sell my cards. That's a little spoiler for later on in this video. But so initially, his interpreter came out and said that Shohei had paid his debts for him. $4.5 million that Shohei had paid. And Shohei apparently agreed with that initially, or Shohei's representatives did. They said that they positioned it as him being heroic, essentially, and helping his friend out because his friend had a gambling addiction and racked up $4.5 million. Now, there are a lot of questions there. First of all, how does his interpreter get access? How does his interpreter be allowed to rack up $4.5 million on his salary, which is very nice, by the way, way more than I make. Like, I think I read somewhere that it's around 10% of the debt. So roughly $300,000 to $500,000 salary. How does any bookie let him get that far in debt unless they believe they have the ability to get access to Shohei's money too? And I'm not saying that that's the case, but that is certainly something that they will look into, something that is a concern if you are heavily invested in Shohei. And by the way, last night or this morning, whenever it was, I was thinking about this and realized Jeff Wilson, last week I did a video on Jeff Wilson backing out of that $100,000 Shohei card. Imagine how happy Jeff Wilson is now that he backed out of that $100,000 deal. And I'm loath to say anything good about Jeff Wilson, but it's probably a smart move now in retrospect. Of course, he didn't know at the time. But then very quickly, after his representatives came out and said that Shohei had paid his interpreter's debts, his other handlers or the team or somebody came out and said, no, this was actually a massive theft that his interpreter played on Shohei, and the Dodgers fired him immediately. Now, no matter what happens, I think firing the interpreter is the right thing to do, because you don't want to have somebody around the team who racked up $4.5 million. So whether you consider this backstabbing by Shohei on his interpreter or not, the team had to fire him, because you don't want that kind of person around your team, putting your team at risk, putting your players at risk with all that debt. It's a big risk. And the gambling addiction. And gambling addiction is real. It's very serious, and it should be taken seriously. And I hope that they are helping him through some sort of addiction anonymous or whatever type of treatment you take for that. And then the story changed again. Now they're saying, and I don't even know what's happened today. Now they're saying, and they're not letting Shohei talk to the media. They are saying that they have referred him to the authorities, the interpreter, but they won't say which authorities they've reported him to. And Shohei keeps playing, but you got to think his performance is going to suffer this year. Under this pressure, this stress, it'll be very interesting to see what happens with Shohei. Now, the federal laws around gambling in California are very serious. And I read Joe Posnanski this morning wrote in his newsletter that he spoke with an attorney, and the attorney was very clear that Shohei is in pretty significant trouble if he did, in fact, wire money to an illegal bookie in California, that he is in legal jeopardy based on that. Will he go to jail, prison, whatever? I don't know. I don't know that. Will he get suspended from baseball? My guess is yes. I think that ultimately, whatever they find is going to point to Shohei in some way. And I think that the original story that Shohei had paid his interpreter's gambling debts is probably the closest to the truth. And we don't know for sure. This is just purely me speculating. But even if he's just being a nice guy, helping out his friend, which I can respect, it's still illegal, and he's still in legal jeopardy. So no matter what his intent is, no matter what his intent was, the law doesn't care. So there's risk there. And now you've got his performance, which may suffer this year because of this, just, again, speculation on my part, plus a looming suspension, potentially. Am I buying Shohei cards? Not today, I'm not. In fact, some others aren't either. I looked at the values of two cards. This one, 2018 Topps Chrome pitching in a PSA 10, was going a week ago or 5 days ago for $200 on average. Today it's going for $190. That's not a big drop, but that's a 5% drop when you would expect this card to be climbing into the opening of the season. As Shohei had a great first game, as he's on the national stage, he's playing for the Dodgers. I would expect through spring training and the opening of the season, I know they open the season this week in Korea, but you get my point. I would expect this card to keep on climbing, and then, at some point there's going to be a dip, but then it's dropped 5% in just a few days since this news broke. So no big deal, 5%. But this one, 2018 Topps Silver Pack, 1983 Chrome Promo, PSA 10, was averaging $359 4 or 5 days ago, or when they were selling earlier in March, I should say. And one of those, the most recent one, was an auction that was poorly done. The rest of them were all up around closer to 400. But the average is $359. Now, in the last day or so, two have sold for $300. I think it was $300 and $296. I've got it up here. So an average of $298. So these are down 20% in just since this news broke. Is it all tied to this? You can't say for sure. Correlation isn't causation. But it's definitely a concern for anybody who's holding Ohtani and hoping that his values go up this year. I'm not. I'm holding Ohtani because I like Ohtani cards, and I think in 20 years they're a good hold. I'm not a traditional investor. I'm not investing a lot of money, and I am not a financial advisor, so do not take my advice on anything financially related here. I'm holding on to these because I think in 20 years, Shohei has the potential to be the greatest of all time. And I want to have bought these at $50, $100, $150 instead of spending $1,000 on them in 20 years, or whatever 1,000 is equivalent to in 20 years. So there's a lot of risk here. There's a lot of risk for anybody buying Shohei cards, but there's also an opportunity. If his cards continue to come down, let's say he gets suspended, let's say he's out for a while, there's a big buying opportunity in my opinion, because if he comes back, he's still in his prime, and if his values go down by half, that's a big buying opportunity in my opinion. And I will consider, based on what we learned, there's still so much to learn in the next couple of months, and it's going to come out in drips. It's going to be very slow, and basically, in all likelihood, everything we know right now is wrong. There's going to be something that's close to true out there right now, but we don't know what it is. So I want to know, what are you doing? Are you buying? Are you selling? Did you never care about Shohei anyway in the first place? Which is fine. I'm going to hold for now. I'm not going to sell no matter what, just because I don't like to in the first place. And I love Shohei, and I think 20 years from now, again, it's still going to be a good hold. But I might buy at some point, depending on what comes out. It's just too early to say for sure. If it were me, I would hold and not do anything until prices come way down, as they might. I think that they probably will, as this continues on this slow pace. But we'll see. Maybe baseball tries to cover it up. Maybe the Dodgers, we know the Dodgers will try to cover it up. Baseball has a lot of interest in not covering up his crimes, any alleged crimes, trying to make sure that Shohei comes out of this clean as possible. Let me know what you think. Thanks very much for watching.